Well, as more Central American families are separated, crossing into the U.S. illegally, the Texas Tribune reports some children are ending up at youth shelters with a history of alleged abuse and neglect.
According to the Texas Tribune, federally funded shelters have been accused of serious lapses in caring for young children. Still, migrant kids are funneled to those facilities, even after complaints have been made to state inspectors.
Alana Rocha is a multimedia reporter for the Texas Tribune. She joins us now from Austin, Texas. Okay, Alana, tell us a little bit more about the misconduct that's been alleged at some of these youth shelters.
Sure. I mean, it ranges from everything from lack of medical attention for, a child who had a burn, another who had a broken wrist, a sexually transmitted disease. One kid was given medicine that they were allergic to, despite the kid wearing a medical bracelet saying they were allergic to that medicine. And it ranges from those things to death. There have been at least 2 homicides reported. And what's disturbing is what happens with these nonprofits and religious organizations that come under fire. Often they change their name or switch locations and continue being awarded these grants from the Office of Refugee Resettlement.
So what's the process, Alana, whereby these children land or find themselves at these facilities? And how has this process been impacted by the accusations that you've reported at the Texas Tribune?
Well, we know that, these under this zero tolerance policy, of course, if the parents are charged with a misdemeanor federal charge of crossing illegally, they are processed and you can't send kids to jail with their parents. And so then they are farmed out to these various organizations that, again, the government has continued to award grants with. And, that's where they fall into different lack of oversight or whatnot, despite here in Texas alone, and our investigation spanned to Maine and New York and highlighted things in those states. But state inspectors found some 400 deficiencies with these facilities. And again, of the 70 or so that Office of Refugee Resettlement has awarded, only 2 of those did not get their grants renewed.
So how can these shelters continue to receive federal funding even after there are these allegations? I mean, I understand you said that they can change their names, but I mean, is no one doing any background checks looking into who's running these things?
Well, it is disturbing because some of these have been accused of not doing proper background checks. So they've been hiring employees with histories of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct, which is disturbing, again, when you're dealing with children. Some have been accused of trading or sending sexually explicit messages with some of the children in their care. It seems that it's, almost too big to get that oversight, it seems at least, until hopefully our reporting will help highlight this, because we're in a key window right now. In May, the ORR announced its next round of 3-year grants, and they have until June 29th, so next week, to remove any, of those grantees before that deadline.
You're talking about millions of dollars that go to these organizations, these institutions from the government, funded by the United States government. And it's remarkable during the discussion of what's been happening there at the border that a lot of people have suggested, well, it's the parents' fault for putting those children at risk, where now we're saying not only are we not able to see where the little girls, for example, are or the toddlers are, but they may be ending up in institutions that have a history of abuse, as you allege in the Texas Tribune, and they may never ultimately even be reunited with their family members. And I just don't understand how something like this can happen in the United States.
It is disturbing. I mean, today on TexasTribune.org, in addition to this investigation, we do a illustration, if you will, a flow chart to show what happens to the parents and what happens to the children. And we still have not gotten a clear answer on how, because they're handled by 2 different federal agencies, that being Homeland Security and Health Services, how those 2 are reunited, or whether these parents will ever get to see their kids again.
Alana, have you, every news organization, I think, in America now has been trying to understand where the young girls are, where the toddlers are. As you know, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was asked about it during a White House press briefing, and she professed ignorance as to where they might possibly be. What are you hearing just on the ground in Texas, given that, Texas is your natural beat?
Yeah, we're hearing that photos are supposed to be coming down the pipe as far as showing us where these toddlers and girls are being kept. A New York Times reporter that I follow tweeted a photo last night, said it wasn't one he took, but somebody gave to him, and it's a little girl, seemingly at a toddler age, crawling on a very colorful mat, and the conditions look good. But that's the first window I feel like I've seen, at least, where these girls or toddlers might be housed.
Yeah, it's very true. So we've just heard, I think the mayor of Houston say that a facility is going to be opening up in his city. We know of 3 other facilities. There are going to be more children. Do these facilities even have the capability of dealing with this influx of young children?
It's not clear. I mean, you mentioned Houston, and yesterday Mayor Sylvester Turner held a press conference with other Houston officials saying they want no part of this, and that they're hoping that the state, at least the city will, which they have control of, will slow play the licensing process, because that shelter, which is going to be operated by Southwest Key Programs, one of the organizations we highlight in our investigation, they're going to try and slow play that. So it's a converted warehouse, and that is going to house tender age kids, those 12 and younger. So you think of a converted warehouse, yes, you can outfit it with maybe what they need, but still, it's a warehouse setting.
Alana, before we let you go, Texas obviously is a border state. As you know, former First Lady Laura Bush tweeted earlier this week that she lives in a border state, but she finds the policy of separating children from their parents to be immoral, and that it breaks her heart. I wonder what you're hearing from others on the ground. Clearly, Texas is a state that has supported President Trump. He won that state during the election. I'm curious if you're getting the same sentiment as expressed by the First Lady, or are there people, because of the realities of folks who live in that state, we don't know those realities here in New York City or New York State, that perhaps they say, look, this is difficult, but it's not immoral, and we should be enforcing laws, even though there is no law in the books that says that children need to be separated from their parents?
It seems to be a mixed bag. I mean, even within the Bush family, right? George P. Bush, I'm sure you guys reported just yesterday, Donald Trump Jr. Pulled out of a fundraiser he was going to do for the land commissioner's reelection campaign, mainly because of Jeb Bush's tweeting in opposition to this policy. So it really is a mixed bag, but we did poll all 38 Texans in Congress, as well as our statewide officials. And of those, we only got 2 confirmed yeses, that being our Attorney General Ken Paxton and Congressman Michael Burgess. The rest were either no's or kind of fuzzy, unclear on their responses. So it really is mixed, but it seems more and more Republicans are coming out against this and wanting to find some sort of solution, with, Ted Cruz filing emergency legislation, and others just trying to find a solution and an end to this problem. Because, of course, we are in an election year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, sorry, what did the poll ask? I'm curious.
Pardon me?
The poll, you said that some of them, only 2.
Oh, we did an informal survey, basically, of all 38 Texans in Congress, and basically we asked simply if they support the Trump administration's policy, the zero tolerance policy of prosecuting everybody who illegally crosses and then separating them from their children. And of those 38, we only got 2 yeses, that being the Attorney General and Congressman Michael Burgess.
I think about the Attorney General's op-ed in USA Today, where he said, these children are being treated better than many American children are being treated. I mean, based on your reporting, it certainly doesn't sound like that, Alana.
No, based on the investigation that details really disturbing happenings inside these shelters and a lack of oversight, it doesn't appear that that's the case. But a lot of these families waiting on bridges to come in legally say that they'd rather sleep on the bridge than go back to where they're from.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. That is actually perfect, because that tells you the dire conditions that they're coming from, right? Alana Rocha, thank you very much.
Thank you.